Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is January 11th, coming up on 10:30 a.m. here. If you guys are liking these videos, make sure to click like and subscribe and join the channel if you like, help support the page. And checking out the current conditions around the region right now, you can see we've got some low to mid 50s coming in here, really warming things up the west side of the state. You can see we got cold air trapped on the eastern portions of eastern Washington and Oregon right now. Some wintry precip and some freezing rain possible. We'll check that out in a little more detail coming up. Ignore that 60+ degree reading up there. That's obviously an error. As this precip's moving in here, you can see that we got the rain shadow activity going on, mainly over Whidbey Island, Hood Canal area as per usual. And with these atmospheric rivers, these terrain features really dictate how much precip you're going to get. We got the rain shadow here, and it eventually recovers and starts to rise back up again as it moves into the Cascades. So they'll end up getting precip here eventually. And there's a Chehalis gap here, and a lot of this atmospheric river can move through there and into the Cascades here. That's why the SPC is highlighted an area of slight potential for some excessive rainfall. On the excessive rainfall outlook, we'll look at that in a minute here too. Checking out the visible satellite imagery here, you can see we've got the connection all the way from Hawaii up into western Washington, parts of northwest Oregon and British Columbia here. We've got a developing mid-latitude cyclone out here over the Pacific Ocean, and this thing will eventually lift the warm front further north on into tomorrow morning. The precip will lighten a little bit south of there, but then we still have to deal with this trailing cold front and bent back occlusion off the Washington coast as it slowly moves through the region here. Now, the Weather Prediction Center has issued this mesoscale precipitation discussion for western Washington, so we're getting some national attention here, and it shows the greatest potential for an additional 3 to 4 inches through 06Z. That's tonight, approximately 10 p.m. Pacific time, and you can see that they highlight the possibility for some higher totals even than that in some of the high-res models that we'll look at here in a minute. 5 to 6 inch 12-hour totals that can produce some pretty severe flooding around the region, especially on the Olympic Peninsula there. And here is the excessive rainfall outlook. You can see how they've targeted a portion of the Central Cascades and most of the Olympics all the way out to the Washington coast there. And this is a risk of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a point. So this is really going to contribute to any unstable slopes and landslide potential as well. And they even mention it here in the discussion. Flooding and mudslides are possible with this event. The area that we're dealing with here has averaged 150 to 200% normal precipitation totals, and localized totals between 7 and 9 inches are likely. That's an extreme amount of rain. Talks about the atmospheric river category event of a 3 on scale through 1 to 5 there. And I'll show you this here too. So this was the outlook. This was put out yesterday, and this kind of shows the highlight of what the effect that terrain features have on an atmospheric river. If the prevailing wind direction is a certain way, it tends to target different areas in the Cascades and on the Olympics. A more westerly will bring it through the Chehalis Gap and slam into like the Green River water basin, for example, versus a more southwesterly that will go into the central and northern Cascades a bit more. So just wanted to point that out there. This is Stampede Pass. You can see for about a 24-hour period, it goes above freezing here from tonight through Thursday afternoon. Some pretty warm temperatures getting up into the mountainous areas there. That's going to contribute to some of this melting and exacerbate flood potential in the area. Right now, we're doing okay on the rivers. The event just started. We're dealing with 1 to 3 inches so far. So the rivers haven't, they have a delayed reaction time, basically. That runoff has to start to accumulate and get into the river basin. So this is a good page to watch. The National Weather Service Advanced Hydraulic Prediction Service shows all the rivers in the area. You can click on these individual dots and find out what kind of flooding is going on. You can see pink is major and near flood stage is yellow, and everything in between, for example. So as we look here, this is the latest on the atmospheric river. I mean, just look at this stream of moisture coming all the way from the tropics. And I put a little video out on Twitter there showing the precipitation fog and just how much moisture is in the atmosphere here. And you can see this just relentless amount of precipitation here. And then it lifts a little bit, lightens, and then we have to deal with that back edge of the system as it moves through. And going on to the future here a little bit here too, it looked like there was a little bit more of an atmospheric river even trying to tease us again in the future, but nothing like what's coming in here now. So we'll just watch that in the future for precipitation totals, but shouldn't be the huge rainmaker that we're getting today and tomorrow. You can see the developing cyclone out here as it deepens its low pressure system and kind of moves towards the coast, Vancouver Island. It might bring some gusty winds to the Washington and mainly Vancouver Island coastlines, but not a big wind maker by any stretch of the imagination. As it gets closer, it casts a tight pressure gradient on a relatively tight on the Oregon coast there. So it could bring some wind advisory gusts through there. And this is on Thursday morning. You can see some of this cold air still trapped up here in northeast Washington and through the basin here all the way into Thursday morning for some wintry precip. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail here coming up. Here's some precip totals. And you can see these are, you know, up in excess of 5 inches in some areas on the Olympics and the central Cascades there. You can see that's where the SPC highlighted those excessive rainfall amounts also. And this goes through Friday morning. I've already got an inch, almost an inch and a quarter here at Normandy Park. And you can see that rain shadow effect going on in there with lesser amounts through Seattle north towards Everett and Hood Canal area. Here is the high resolution outlook here. This is the precipitation totals on the HRRR. Look at the amounts on the Olympic Mountains there. I mean, heads up, if you've got small stream nearby you and you're living out there on the Olympic Peninsula, you need to be aware of this event. This is through Thursday. This is midnight tonight right there. And those are extreme precipitation amounts. I mean, you're talking over 8 inches in some cases there. Central Cascades as well. If you have concerns with small streams, this is going to be a lot of precip in a short amount of time. And look at just through midnight tonight, Seattle showing 2 inches of rainfall. So it looks like high-res models are doing pretty good there. Bellingham, 1.5 inches. Some of the higher terrain in BC and Vancouver Island also being targeted. Lighter amounts through eastern Washington, but that could be of the frozen precipitation variety. So we have to be careful there. That could be laying down a slick layer of freezing rain. And here we go for the NAM. This is not the high resolution model, but just kind of showing again that bullseye there on the Olympic Mountains. You see there is some model disagreement. You see Bellingham getting upwards of 2 inches there. This is through Thursday afternoon. Seattle a little bit less here on the NAM. And this is to show you some temperatures here. So look at that warm air just flooding into the region here. Look at that, Seattle, 54 degrees on tomorrow. You can run around in shorts there. You can see some of that colder air trapped in eastern Washington, some of the areas in eastern Oregon as well, still into the 20s. Not doing a very good job scouring that cold air out east of the Cascades. Here are the wind gusts. You know, there's not much to write home about here. It's just a bit breezy on the Washington coast here coming up through the afternoon today. But wind advisories look like they've been dropped. And yeah, not much to worry about wind-wise with this system, but hopefully we can stay away from the wind for at least a couple weeks after this event because saturated soils do not do well with high winds. And here is the heavy rain outlook, the flood watch here. Snowfall's rising 65 to 7,500 feet. That is way up there, folks. There's going to be some melting going on. The snowpack's going to absorb a lot of this rainfall as it falls. But again, some of those mid-range areas are going to have quite a bit of melting going on. So it's probably going to increase that flow into the local streams and rivers there. So taking a look at the region here, they've got a special weather statement out down here for like areas like southern Puget Sound, talking about heavy rainfall through Wednesday will lead to an increased set of landslides. Landslide threat has been high already. This is just going to increase that. So heads up. I mean, landslides are pretty unpredictable, tough to spot, but just have a heads up there. This is for Spokane and areas east up towards the east slopes of the Cascades there. You can see, look at this, up to 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain today. Ice on roads, you know, heads up. Sidewalks, power lines, be alert to icy conditions, especially a lot of travelers probably on I-90 trying to get across while the pass is opened. Last I heard, Snoqualmie Pass was still open. But yeah, so the more minor accumulations out towards Spokane, eastern areas, but the basin here has some cold air trapped in the lower elevations. Here's the NAM 3km showing that potential for some freezing rain there. It should be mostly snow in the northeast mountains of Washington. You can see some snow in the higher terrains up on the east slopes of the Cascades as well. And you can see that heavier precipitation going through the west side as the atmospheric river makes its way through western Washington there. This is some temperature data here. So this is afternoon here. You can still see there's that area below freezing in eastern Washington, and you can see it's really right around, it's waffling right around freezing there. So it's not a quick warm up for eastern Washington there. Finally into Wednesday, it looks like you're just above freezing. Look at western Washington nearing 60 degrees here tomorrow afternoon. So heads up, it might be raining, but you can still get out and enjoy that warmth. And then, yeah, going into Wednesday night, it could drop back below freezing. Some of these areas in eastern Washington. In the higher terrain of eastern Oregon, there stays pretty chilly there too. Some 20s going on. But they should have less precipitation to work with down there. Let's double check that. Yeah, you can see the NAM doesn't show much precipitation down there for eastern Oregon areas. So that's probably why the temperatures are a bit lower too. So again, we just take a look at this daily when we're dealing with landslide potential. If you're on the right side of this line, you are more susceptible to landslides, and Seattle and Tacoma are going to be rising and getting away from that, and just the landslide potential is going to be increased. Boeing Field right on the line. Everett underneath it now, but that could change depending on how much rainfall the area gets the next day or two here. And looking off into the future here a little bit, still showing a possible trend to some negative Pacific North American oscillation values later on in January. But again, some models in the extended are showing us flirting with some cold air, some not so much, or just a little bit of it. So just something for us to watch. I'm just kind of keeping everybody updated on what the signal shows. I'd like to see how, it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out and how these signals do with this. Checking out the La Nina index here, you can see early November we went right down to about -1, and for a while there in December and early January we were below -1. So technically a moderate La Nina at times this year, and the second to back. So we're probably going to be sliding into a neutral year or an El Nino year into next year. So most likely a neutral year, and then perhaps an El Nino year after that. So if you're a snow lover, enjoy that. Neutral years can still produce pretty good snowfall amounts, especially in the lowlands. It's not that different from a La Nina year, but El Nino tends to be much lower on the scale, even though 2019 February was a La Nina year. So don't give up hope, snow lovers. Just if there's an El Nino year coming around, it still can happen. There was some big snows in the 60s that happened during El Nino years also. So it can happen. But yeah, so that's what's going on today. I had fun in the live stream last night. I'll try to give a little bit more of a heads up to when I'm going to do those live streams. I try to do them for at least about an hour. It kind of gives everybody a little place to come ask live Q&As and gives me an idea of what questions you guys want answered and whatnot. So yeah, so we got a couple more days before we get through this atmospheric river event, and then we'll start looking around. Once weather gets a little bit more quiet, I'll probably start branching out to areas that have weather, like further up into Alaska or California or Hawaii, maybe into the Midwest a bit. So I'll expand our horizons, but as always, Pacific Northwest will come first, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow with tomorrow's weather briefing, and stay dry out there.